Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. I've tried to make the case for why it is you should never purchase a Hewlett-Packard printer, and I'd like to try and make that case again today with HP's claim that the reason that they are restricting the use of ink cartridges is because you may get a virus if you use somebody else's ink cartridge. How many people here have gotten a virus from using an aftermarket ink cartridge? You're more likely to get herpes from watching my YouTube channel than you are to get a virus from using a third-party ink cartridge. But let's dig into this a little bit, and let's dig into some of the reasons that I believe you should never purchase an HP printer, going back to what I've been talking about for the past few years, because there is a bit of history here. So HP has a feature called dynamic security. What dynamic security does is it checks whether or not you're using an ink cartridge that was purchased directly from HP. And if you have purchased an ink cartridge that was not purchased from HP, you will get this error because you have not secured your money into HP's pockets. Dynamic security keeps your money from going into anybody else's pockets other than HP. Then you also have this lawsuit that happened because they had a printer, a scanner, and a copier that would not scan if you didn't have ink. Because everybody knows you need cyan and magenta ink in order to scan a black and white piece of paper. This is another scam that they have to try and get you to buy more ink. If you don't have to print, but you have to scan, you may buy ink that you don't need. And if you don't print for a year or two, that ink may get crusty and dry out in cheap consumer printers. And as a result of that, you may have spent $20 or $40 on what is essentially a disposable purchase for something that you did not need. But wait, it gets better and better and better. Now they're citing threats of viruses if you use aftermarket ink cartridges. This comes from Notebook Check. HP cites threat of viruses from non-HP printer cartridges to justify blocking their use. HP is once again facing litigation regarding its dynamic security firmware updates, which stop the printer when a third-party ink cartridge is installed from working. Addressing the issue, HP's CEO Enrique Lores, in an interview with CNBC, has highlighted the fact that hacked non-HP ink cartridges can be used to inject a virus into the printer, and from there to the entire network. This is seen as a practical justification for the controversial practice by HP. And the primary basis for this claim is a research article that's been funded by the company itself under its bug bounty program. Imagine that. Ink cartridges typically contain a microchip which communicates with the printer over a serial interface. In 2022, using a non-HP cartridge, a researcher was able to inject malware that gave him persistent access and control to the printer. Now, if we were to guess what the root cause of this is, to be clear, I am not a programmer. If you take a look at my GitHub, you will fucking laugh. I am not an embedded programmer. I am not an expert when it comes to hardware design in any way, shape, or form. Something tells me that the ability to inject a virus into your computer, if it exists, has something to do with all the complexity that you added to the ink cartridge, so the ink cartridge can tell the printer, I'm a real HP cartridge, not a knockoff one. Because I never heard of this shit in 1997 and 2007 and 2017. This was not a thing. People do not get viruses from their fucking ink cartridges. And if they are getting viruses from their ink cartridges, it's because you put together a shit printer. What you most likely did was you made this so much more complex than it needed to be so that you would be able to know if I was using your ink cartridge or somebody else's because you're that fucking nosy and greedy. Now you've created a situation where you have this complex system that you simultaneously have no desire to maintain properly, and the way that you are going to answer that is you are going to cite security and decrease user freedom. Does this sound familiar to you? Create a fucked up ecosystem because of your own greed, cite security, reduce user freedom. For how many years have I been coming on here and saying that when people say you should not be able to have access to tools to be able to fix your own device, you can't have access to parts to be able to fix your own device, the manufacturer will claim that your security is at risk. And how many times have I told you it's bullshit? How strong does the bullshit have to become before people start to go, you know what? Maybe I don't like him. I don't like him and his balding head and his personality and his voice and his shitty thumbnails and his cat profile picture. But maybe he had a point. Maybe in some of these things, just maybe there was like kind of a point hidden in all of that stuff. When these companies claim they are restricting your freedom because of security, that it might have not had anything to do with security all along, and it might have had to do with securing your money into their pockets. Just something to think about. Are you going to buy an HP printer? Are you going to let your friends that are not tech savvy buy an HP printer? Because if you have a friend that is not tech savvy and you allow him to buy an HP printer, dare I say it, that is not on him, that is on you. Friends do not allow friends to purchase HP products. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.